We are borrowing money off the book. The money we borrow is actually not passed in the budget. The person who is actually the Minister for Transport. We have borrowed 175 billion Kenya shillings already. What we have done is to mortgage fuel levy that Kenya pay for the next 15 years. So when you corroborate and put together all that borrowing, then we are following the script of Senegal. Valuation is what is important. Why? When you go to a country like Zambia, during their privatization, and I want Kenyans to know, what I'm talking about Safaricom, I have no vendetta, na sina fitina. That is why every investor looks at the intrinsic value of the company. And if you look at all the other investors in the world, including Berkshire Hathaway, and you sell it at 23 billion, is that what you are telling us, the National Treasury? Now, by then, it was valued at 1.8 trillion Kenya shillings. They have now already invested in Ethiopia, and the market in Ethiopia is already responding. So you are telling us you can buy a plot at 450,000, plot without anything in it. You build a flat in it, you start collecting rent, then after 4 years, you sell the plot and the flat together for 340,000. Is that possible, dear Kenyans? So I'm requesting the National Treasury and the government, if there is no self-interest in the sale of Safaricom, make the process open. If there is no incompetence in the sale of the 15% GOK stake in Safaricom PLC, make the process competitive. Open the process for other bidders to bid for those shares. Let the current buyer bid, let another telco bid, give Kenyans a chance to bid. Give Kenyan funds a chance to bid, because we are going to realize better value for that stake when we open it up for all Kenyans and every other buyer to bid and buy. And as I say this, I am challenging again my brother Honorable Bandi. I have information more than the one I can talk to you now here. If they are confident, you know, I am seeing them talking about market prices. Market prices, market prices. Now, US government, you already come in public early this year. As the National Treasury, if you look at some of the interviews the CS for the National Treasury has done on TV, he has been on TV saying, we are very desperate, we need to raise money. You've already sent a signal to any buyer that you are desperate. Then you go to a negotiating table, you've already blooded yourself here, desperate, and then you go to a negotiation, and in that negotiation, and I want to make it very clear, there were people who purported to represent the government of Kenya in the sale of Safaricom PLC. People who are not government employees participated in the negotiations of the sale of the 15% stake. And the same people, there are things they do with the buyers. So Kenyans are getting a raw deal for personal reasons. And I want to make it clear, this cannot be allowed to happen. Because we can get much more. There are lawyers in this hall. In a negotiation or in a transaction, there is something called conditions precedent. If, you know, the reason why I am pitying my brother, the CS of National Treasury, is that he's just a spokesman for this deal. He was actually not in the negotiations. And if you want to challenge me, I am ready, because I know. Wacha nimaliza na kitu ya mwisho. Wacha nimaliza na kitu ya mwisho. As we do the kind of things we are doing, it is important to know that there is something we are calling infrastructure fund. Infrastructure fund is two things. Forget about all the other things. I think now as Kenyans we are used to grandiose marketing of projects. But we know the real utility when it happens. Forget about how it is being marketed. Infrastructure fund is 2 things: privatizing government assets. Number 2, more borrowing. Just watch the steps, not the lips of the people promoting it. The other thing they want to do through infrastructure fund is to remove development from the budget. We want to run 2 budgets in Kenya. One, they are running away from the responsibility of recurrent expenditure, which is social investment. And then we want to create another budget on the side for development expenditure. That is why ordinarily, when you privatize a government assets, it goes into the budget, because the government does more than building roads. It pays teachers, it builds schools, and the other social investments. Now, the government wants to run away from the social investments, create an infrastructure fund to privatize more, but after privatizing, to use that money to borrow more. So the plans of the National Treasury, they've already securitized fuel levy, which is collecting fuel levy in advance. 175 billion taken, in the process of another 175 billion. Second thing is sports fund, already securitized 44.5 billion Kenya shillings loan, which you are paying 100 billion Kenya shillings in interest rate alone. They're in the process, listen to this, of securitizing your housing levy. And me, I don't talk things just for the sake of talking. They are now in the process of collecting your housing levy now, to use it now. You give political claps now, but the burden is in the future. So my question has been, including in this Safaricom sale, and sorry I've talked very fast to cover a lot. You are going to the negotiations, take dividends in advance, give a 15 billion discount on the dividend alone, and I'm asking, kwani Kenya inaenda wapi? You are collecting money for next year and the other year today. Kenya inaenda wapi? Very lastly, there is the principals in Kenya for day secondary schools. Already wametumiwa circular. The government want to increase day secondary school fees from January. I can tell you as a member of parliament, we are not going to allow that to happen. They have already cut capitation by 9,370. Na ya mwisho, confirmation of JSS in tons is an issue that we must not continue talking about in meetings. The National Treasury must liaise with TSC today and issue a confirmation notice to all the JSS in tons into permanent and pensionable terms. Asanteni sana.
So at the risk of saying a lot and not cutting you kindly, it's not being disrespectful. Really, these conversations can go on, but we have quite a line that we will pass our break time in respect of the speakers. So I want to just give a guidance. So next on stage we have 4 speakers that are left, and I'm going to ask them to simply say what they need to say in a very few minutes, 3 to 5. So next we are going to have Honorable Karoli Omondi, who is the MP for Suba South. When he finishes, we have 2 senior Kenyans and very respected Kenyans. I'll give them a chance to have a final one. We'll have Brian Kagoro, who represents OSF, and he had prepared quite well to say a few remarks. And then after that, I will then come to Honorable Martha Karua and finish with the Honorable Musyoka. These indulgences for the time, kindly give it to 3 minutes. Kindly. Karoli. Let's appreciate Dr. Karoli.
Thank you very much, but 3 minutes will be difficult after the mood my friend Honorable Kiminyo has set in the house. Your Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, welcome. Honorable Martha Karua, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I stand to speak not as a member of Parliament for Suba South, but as the chair of Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee of the National Assembly. I think the rubric of discussion we have had today is by one word, accountability. So maybe you'd like to hear from me what as CIOC we are doing to enhance accountability. It's quite unfortunate that the Auditor General has left, but I wanted to congratulate her and assure of our support as a committee, because we think together with the controller of budget, we have two fine ladies doing very good work for the Republic of Kenya. As a committee, we've noted about 4 issues that really affect the accountability institutions. Those are the Chapter 15 institutions. We have 10 constitutional commissions and 2 independent offices. One is limited funding for constitutional offices and independent offices, these constitutional commissions. The lack of funding is actually affecting the ability to get sufficient and quality staff, but also limiting their activities. Article 249, sub-article 3 of our Constitution says that Parliament shall allocate adequate resources to these offices and that their budgets shall be separate votes. What we have realized in the budget making process, these constitutional committees, constitutional institutions and the independent offices are lumped under sector working groups, which have ceilings and which in the long run affects the monetary allocations to these constitutional commissions. So to give them adequate funding and to make them independent, we have recommended and we have tabled a report. I've tabled 4 reports in 4 months since I became chair before the House. One of the recommendations is that in the budget making process, we take out the accountability institutions from sector working groups so that their budget lines are independent and that they are not starved of money. That is one that we have recommended. The second thing we have noticed is weak implementation of their recommendations, like the Auditor General said. Last week, I did present another report, which is now going to be tied to the implementation committee, about how to actualize the recommendations of accountability institutions that they make to the House, so that their implementations, their recommendations, observations can be turned into actions that improve accountability in our country. We have also noted that there's a lot of interference in the constitution of these commissions, in the way the members are being appointed. I did participate in the original recruitment for the 10 constitutional commissions over 10 years ago. But today, what we have noticed is a lot of recycling of politicians into these commissions. And I think there's a problem there. So we are trying to change the law to make sure if I lose my seat, my first port of call is not a constitutional commission, so that we keep the rigorous recruitment process and independence of the members who go there. Because you see clearly there are cases of trade-offs where a politician is put into a commission as a trade-off that his supporters may vote for somebody. I mean, you saw that recently, even in the by-election that we have, if you are keen. So we are trying to deal with that issue. The final difficulty we have seen is executive overreach into the operations of these commissions. A good example was the thing that was created for compensation of victims of post-election violence, which the court declared constitutional. That is the work of an existing constitutional commission, and that work should be left there. There have also been some proposals we have done to the PFM Act, which are supposed to enhance equity and accountability. There's already on the floor of the House a proposed amendment to the Public Finance Act that will create a sub-article. You remember when the budget is being prepared, especially on the side of expenditure, members of parliament don't have a summary of where the expenditures are going. So you have to keep looking for addendums, annexures, and the rest of them. We are now proposing that in the PFM Act, the Treasury, as well as the Parliamentary Budget Office, will review annual estimates to ensure that their form and content contain a sector-wide informative summary of the development projects proposed per sub-county in terms of the administrative units. So that if the Ministry of Roads come to Parliament and say we have budgeted 200 billion for new roadworks, they will break it down to the sub-counties. So you can clearly see how it has been divided across the entire Republic. Whether it is Ministry of Water, whether it is Ministry of Energy. In other words, if you see the development mosaic of Kenya, there's been over-concentration in certain areas to the detriment of other areas. This is supposed to deal with equity. And the other proposal, which is the final one before I talk about something else, to the PFM Act, is where we are proposing that for shareable revenue that will be going to counties, we want it to be modeled on something most of the civil society don't like, but which is the only fund which is working in this republic, which is called the NGCDF. We want to be modeled on something very simple. 30% of the shareable revenue to counties will be ring-fenced for recurrent expenditure. The other balance of 70 will be distributed to counties based on specific project lines with codes, so that there'll never be any pending bills when the money goes to the counties. They'll not present a budget for health, but when they receive the money, they take the funding to funerals and hiring cheering crowds, as they do. So we will ring-fence development expenditure on the shareable revenue of county governments. Those are the kind of accountability measures we are trying to institute as a committee. But finally, let me also say one or two things about the Safaricom issue and give some historical perspectives that many people may not know. I want to start with just comparing the government proposal of divestiture from Safaricom and that of Kenya Pipeline. And because IMF and the World Bank are here, that's why I've chosen to speak about it, so that they may interrogate these things further, because they have a hand in this. The KPC divestiture program is on the basis of an initial public offering. The Safaricom one is on the basis of enhanced strategic sale. These two models of sale are supposed to deal with different requirements. The Kenya Pipeline should, in my view, have been sold on the basis of strategic sale, so as to get a strategic investor with the wherewithal, financial wherewithal, and technical know-how to create new business streams for Kenya Pipeline. To, in other words, reticulate gas. For example, put a pipeline for gas from Mombasa to Nairobi to the rest of the country and reticulate gas into buildings. That requires a lot of investments, that you need an expert to do that, somebody in that sector. Why am I raising this? Because I will explain to you why the option that has been chosen presents opportunity for state capture. Kenya Pipeline, we should have extended the pipeline into Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda. We've lost that opportunity. We only have Southern Sudan and Ethiopia. The Nairobi Stock Exchange cannot marshal enough resources to give to Kenya Pipeline to reticulate gas, to do a gas pipeline, to go into other lines of business, and to extend to Southern Sudan and Ethiopia. So there's a problem by that choice. And IMF and World Bank, I request you hear us. On the Safaricom issue, we already have a strategic partner, which is Vodafone. So why, in a country where only 1% of the population have access to 78% of our financial resources, why would we concentrate more of that resource into Vodafone hands instead of democratizing ownership of Safaricom through the Nairobi Stock Exchange to most people, so that Kenyans can deal with that inequality? Now, this is because of the original sin of Safaricom. When Vodafone first came into this country, there was no bidding to start up Safaricom, like Airtel did. You remember we had a bid for Airtel? Who ever had Vodafone bidding? There was a sweetheart deal between the elites of the time and Vodafone that created Safaricom. And what happened there? 10% of the shares of Safaricom were reserved to a company called Mobitelea. 10% was reserved, not 5. There were 10. Was reserved for a private company called Mobitelea, which was never declared here. But because of the requirements of London Stock Exchange, Vodafone declared Safaricom, their shareholding in Safaricom was actually less by 10%. In England, that's how we got to know there was a company called Mobitelea. Because when these sweet deals are transacted, there are two things that politicians scheme. One is called finder's fee. So the people who do these transactions enter into a deal with the investors, and because you brought the deal on the table, you ask for a certain amount, and you are paid. Basically, it is a bribe. They call it give it a good name, finder's fee. But then there's something also they call free carry, which is the shareholding. So you are given shares which you don't pay for. So the fundamental question that we need to ask today is what happened to the Mobitelea shares? And the World Bank and IMF, as because you are working on this transaction with the government, you should ask these questions. It is no secret that a company called Mobitelea, which was a front for Kenyan politicians of the time, owned 10% of Safaricom. Vodafone declared it in London Stock Exchange. It is a fact. So we should also ask ourselves, the current transaction, is there another element of Mobitelea? Come on, let's be factual. Why is it being hidden? Treasury mandarins did not know about this transaction until a few days ago. They did not know. It was structured elsewhere and presented to them. So we need to ask ourselves, why is Vodacom always interested in opaque, non-transparent transactions? Have you ever heard of Safaricom bidding for frequencies in this republic? They have never. Airtel bidded for their frequencies. What happens in Kenya, the telecom frequencies which are state-owned and which are supposed to be auctioned by the National Treasury to raise revenues for government are given to individuals who then sell them over to Safaricom. So you can, because of your political connections, you can go and get a frequency for 20 million and sell to Safaricom for 2 billion. But if you floated that particular frequency in open market, the Treasury would get 10 billion, 15 billion. So we need to ask ourselves these questions on this transaction and just be forthright with Kenyans and not be politicians who beat about the bush. There is something wrong with this transaction in Safaricom. Thank you.
I was warming up to go for lunch as a peaceful Kenyan. Now I'm worried the food might not get to my stomach. Good. Brian. Brian Kagoro is a Zimbabwean, but more importantly, a very strong Pan-Africanist who has been engaging in many matters. I have listened to him, and every time I listen to him, I want to stand up on my table and act. I want to invite you. Unfortunately, I have to again cut your presentation, not significantly, but to some portion. Appreciate Brian Kagoro.
I got a warning from a Gen Z at the back. They told me it's 3 minutes or thereabouts. Honorable Mother Karua, I have always known you to be a law-abiding citizen, but the company you are in is this side. Yeah, I will assume they need legal representation. Friends, our countries have become crime scenes, and we are witnesses at the crime scene, and unfortunately, the crime has direct consequences on our well-being, our welfare. I wish that the description of the several conduits through which money is looted from the state that are in the report were describing a utopian country elsewhere far from us, but unfortunately it's describing a reality. But it's a reality that must be appreciated in the context of the unemployment statistics, a reality that must be appreciated in the context of the number of Kenyans who go to bed without a meal every day or having had only one meal. It's a reality that must be appreciated in the context of the number of women who are dying without access to appropriate medical care and the number of poor citizens who are dying without access to medication, or the number of people whose livestock, whose life's work is destroyed because annually they are open to the vagaries of very hostile weather, which is impelled by greed at a global level. So this is not like a Liverpool or an Arsenal or Go My Here game where you can afford to lose and wait for the next match and excuse the loss on the basis that it was a bad day. This is reality. Let me put it this way, to quote a friend of mine who said to me, Brian, an average African child who is not yet born is already indebted to the tune of 75,000 US dollars because present generations and generations before of politicians were wise enough to take debts in their names in order to either build white elephants or for their primitive accumulation, conspicuous consumption, the things that make them look good, the big cars, the big houses, and etc., all borrowed in the name of children who are not yet born. So the debt of this country must be appreciated as an obligation spread on your heads. At some stage, as we saw in Sri Lanka and we have seen elsewhere, the creditors will come and take ports, take institutions, because they are owed. So this is not a Goma here match. We're not describing a bad game. And Blyden once said, to be a Negro, a black person in America and not live in perpetual outrage might mean that you're abnormal. That once you are appreciated, are conscious of your reality, you cannot afford but to be unhappy. Not only is this stealing from unborn children, if Kenyan democracy were the human heart, this is like drilling a hole at the heart of the democracy. It really doesn't matter who else will come into power. They will have to deal with the hole that you have drilled at the heart of the democracy. There will not be enough in the coffers to pay for roads, to pay for basic amenities. There will not be enough to fix the water problem. There will not be enough to fix the problem in the slums. There will not be enough to fix the problem of unemployment. Why? Because somebody took the drilling machine and kept drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling. So, you know, before there was enough country maybe and enough money for people to steal, and we could talk about how much they were stealing. They were stealing from an abstract thing called a country. But no, they're not stealing from an abstract thing called a country. They're actually stealing from your pensions. I have the privilege of being Zimbabwean with parents who worked so hard. And at the end of their work life, there was no pension left. You know why? Somebody was drilling and drilling and drilling at the very heart of the economy and of democracy. God forbid that Kenya, with all the bright, wonderful, intelligent people, all the committed, ethical leaders that you have, should do what we did. We were very eloquent in describing the problem of graft. We even joined our cousins in South Africa to describe this problem of state capture. We wrote wonderful reports on this problem of democracy capture, of policy capture, institutional capture, administrative capture, bureaucratic capture. And then we even wrote, as you remember, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, those beautiful reports we would write and come and talk to you about. The conflation of the state and the military, the conflation of the bureaucracy and kleptocracy and... The reports are there, but there's not enough country left for people to take. I'm not saying anything about the report. I'm simply saying the report should be like an alarm and don't be like Brian Kagoro. When there's an alarm, a fire alarm in the hotel, don't assume it's just a malfunction. Sometimes it means there's a real fire. So I didn't come here to say to you, well, appreciate something. Second point I wanted to make, Diana, is my heart is very sore, not because of the corruption. I come from a funding agency, so for years I was a recipient of funds, and we used to give civil society funds, and most civil society did not do anything remotely to do with the economy or with finance or anything that pertained to that aspect. They were preoccupied with the business of politics, and it is important, but they were so financially and economically illiterate that the politicians were able to do as they please, because the common person did not get interested until there was electoral theft, which happened before, after every 5 years, and then it became, the country was perpetually in an election mode. I've lived long enough in Kenya, you know. I came here in 2004, and I can tell you the country has been in election mode, and the faces we've seen are not faces of people that are building industries. They're not faces of people that are building employment opportunities or factories. They're not faces of people that are transforming places like Turkana. They're not faces of people that are not. It's politicians. There's nothing wrong with politicians. Politicians will only get away with as much as the citizens do not know. Let me repeat. What we're dealing with is not just a problem of ethics. We're dealing with the problem of power that has never been held to account, or power that has known how to weaponize identity, ethnic or regional identity, religious identity, class. We're dealing with a power or powers that weaponize this. And generations of young people have given their energy to this weaponized identity, beauty pageantry amongst the political elite. And the young people who were young in 2002, the young people who were young in 1994, the young people who were young in 2017, not so young anymore. But guess what? There is one thing that joins them together. They are literate, articulate paupers. Let me repeat. Literate, articulate paupers. They are one event, as Donald Dare, the Kenyan lawyer, says, one event away from disaster. Do you want to know what that disaster is? If today another epidemic or pandemic happens, we're screwed. If today you are kicked out of that job, you have nothing. The most educated, the most capable, their opportunity to produce sustainability and security in their lives is taken. And the cast of the thieves changes. As we say in that Swahili proverbs, the trees have changed, but the monkeys remain the same. And this is why today's launch is particularly important. It's important because this is a launch that recommits to a national consciousness. That national consciousness is simply to say, we have it within our hands to educate ourselves and educate those around us about the theft you can see and the theft that you can't see, about the network that enables this grand theft and corruption. And that network starts right at the top, sometimes of governments, right to the bottom of society. And those who get pittances think they are benefiting. Those who are stopping you as you are coming through JKIA, and they're asking you for little bribes for the little things that you brought your children and your loved ones for Christmas. Those who stop you on the road asking you for chai. There is something that joins them to the rot that you see in the nation. That they are not conscious that the sum total of all our actions is eroding the prospect of stability, of peace. That a country that has potential to become not just Africa's leading economy, but a leading economy in the world, because Kenya has some of the best brains, not just on this continent, in the world. But Kenya has some of the bravest people. Kenya has some of the most resourceful people. Kenya has some of the most wonderful ethical people. But guess what? If you pour a little poison in a whole well or spring of water, it's not the size of the poison that you've poured in, it is the nature of the substance. This report says some people are pouring poison into the water that you should drink, your children should drink. Because from where else do you earn sustenance, social protection, economic well-being? It is from the economy. And if people are stealing the economy, where else do they expect? You don't have a spare economy. At the risk of repeating all the things that you have heard that are in the report, I came just to remind you, the courage to stand up for what you believe is called bravery. But the courage to see and believe in what you can become and fight for the ideal is called imagination. This country requires a combination of bravery or courage and imagination. That's the only way we can save economies from thieves and save the thieves from themselves. Thank you.
How many people here are brave? How many need some imagination to inform their bravery? How many are both? I'm not sure. Good. We are bringing this to a close and really thank you for your patience. Thank you so much, Brian, for those reflections. The good thing is that this is on record, so you can go home, play it again. You know, play it again, listen, play it with your friends, share it with your friends. And at this particular time, it's my pleasure and joy to invite our next speaker, Honorable Martha Karua. We have all interacted with her, but allow me to say something, because Okoa Uchumi and Martha Karua are not new. In the run to the 2022 elections, we had the privilege of presenting some of these issues to you, you remember, as a running mate of Azimio campaign and coalition. And today, we have an opportunity again to recommit to do these things. Martha Karua, let's appreciate her.
My twin brother, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, TISA and Okoa Kenya, who are our hosts, members of parliament, and I see the Honorable Dindi Nyoro and Karori Omondi and Makali Mulu. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'll ride on the protocols already established. I'm going to be very brief, and I'm going to request that if my twin brother sees me walk off as he talks, it's not in protest, it's because I'm running late. I want to first start by congratulating TISA and Okoa Kenya, Okoa Uchumi, not Okoa Kenya, because of the report and of the work over the years, helping us to get a grasp of what goes on, teaching us that talking about the economy is not rocket science. It's the things that are happening to you. Because even inside Parliament, and the members of Parliament know it, when it's the budget, most members will lose interest, go about their business, and believe that only economists can discuss the subject. This is just about how you manage your finances at home, but now they are being managed at a higher level to cover the country. It's the difference between micro and the macro level. So having said that, I have only 3 or 4 points. following the presentation. The first one, what I got, each one of us has a role to play. Each one of us must use their agency as a citizen. And if you are standing in a space like Parliament, use also your agency as a member of Parliament. If you are standing in a position of authority, whether in Treasury or any other place, use your agency. If you are in civil society, use your agency as well, so that together we can push back. We are under threat. We are struggling to recover our economic sovereignty because we have been captured and the state no longer works for us, it works for a few. Allow me, members of Parliament, to agree with what Makali Mulu said, that there is much more you can do. And I'm wondering, and I was whispering to Karuri, what if those who believe in it, you may be less than 10, what if you caucus together so that you aggregate your voices in the House, so that in any debate it's not one single voice, it's 5, it's 6 or 10. You may not win the vote, but you will sensitize the entire country. And when you say it in the House, we hear it more than when you are saying it outside. I want to tell you kindly, thank you for what you are doing, but amplify it by using that chamber and by coming together, even as individuals. We did it in the 90s. We would just be less than 20, but our voices were loud and clear. Please be loud and clear, and you have many ways. When you shout in Parliament, those of us out will use other means to amplify what you are saying. I also got the truth that the fight about accountability is a fight about justice. Imagine it's about your health, about education, about the environment you work in, and about the things you care most about. It's about the state being able to implement the rights, basic needs that are in Article 43 of the Constitution. About our partners, the IMF and World Bank are banks, just like your banks. It's just that they are world institutions, they are global institutions. They cannot be your masters. You enter into engagement with them. But a thieving government, a thieving regime will not negotiate seated. They will be kneeling. They will forget Article 43 of the Constitution, and they will accept conditions that go directly against the Constitution. So it's our duty to stand up for ourselves, because this extractive, our extractive regime is negotiating on their knees. But we want also these partners to note, you talk about governance and accountability. Do not push our states to act outside of our Constitution and the law, because that's what those conditions are forcing them to do. Now, I just also want to say this, that the report aptly captures, and this will be the last point, that what I believe in, the Constitution is our operational manual. You want to operate a country or run a country called Kenya, the manual is the Constitution. Same way you get a manual for your new car, new machine. You want our values and principles of governance up there in Article 10, screaming. You want value-based leadership as dictated by the Constitution. You have Chapter 6. You want public finance. It is Chapter 12. It will tell you about prudent and efficient spending of our resources. It will tell you that the first charge on our resources is the critical needs of the people, not the opulence of the leadership. So what is happening today is happening because the state has abandoned the rule of law and constitutionalism. Together, we must defeat this. Having said I'm a standing president, I must say one last thing. This is now the very last. The other one was the last. No, I'm serious. It's the very last. That what we need is a just economy that works for everyone. Taxation that is not extractive, that people can bear. A first charge on our taxes must be the needs of the people. We need efficiency, we need accountability. Manage the money, the public resources, the same way on a good day you manage your resources, because even a thief does not waste what they have stolen. If you steal from a thief, they will be worse than the owner of the money. Nobody will go to buy something at double the price. But it's like we believe it is a crime to be efficient when it comes to public resources. We've got a job to do. I'm here, if you allow me, to do it for you. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much. And now, without further ado, I also want to invite Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Again, needs no introduction, has been around the block for, I think he's been a member of parliament for as long as some people have been born in this hall of Mwingi. That might be true, actually, yes. I want to ask who they are, but those are the people that we are engaging. So please, I want to welcome you to make your remarks, and then after that, we'll just be going to the final part of this program.
Wow. What a day. I wish this people's audit could be on daily circulation, from hustle to hardship. Now, friends, and ladies and gentlemen, riding again on the protocols already established, my twin sister, you are very free to leave. I think you should have ended by saying, rather than asking them to give you the responsibility, use the plural, give us. Because we are a team. A very good afternoon. I had come late because I'd asked Dr. Makali Mulu, and I'm happy that our speakers have quoted their wonderful remarks. Allow me to place some of these things on record, because I consider this so historic, so important, that indeed it is an occasion for both celebration of a combination, as we heard from Brian, of imagination and bravery. Let me begin by thanking Tisha and the Okoa Uchumi campaign. I don't blame Mother. We were in Okoa, Kenya together. We continue to go Okoa, Kenya, but this time we are changing tact. It is liberation time. It is Ukombozi time. We're going beyond Kuokoa to Kukomboa. And all the partners, including our development partners, who have made it today possible. Your presence here speaks to the weight of this moment for our country. I also want to appreciate the speakers who have guided us through the key issues raised in this report. Makali Mulu, again, you're there to receive it on me. I can't wait to get a copy and go through it. Their insights remind us that Kenya stands at a crossroads, and the choices we make now will determine the future we hand over to our children. I also want to say, friends, that today is not just another event on the national calendar. It is a moment of collective reflection on the state of our republic. The People's Audit lays bare a reality Kenyans have been feeling for far too long. Something is deeply wrong with how our public finances are being handled. And with the IMF's governance and corruption diagnostic on the horizon, this report is a timely reminder that we must scrutinize ourselves before others do it for us. I therefore commend TISA, Okwa Uchumi, and all partners behind this effort. You have given the country a factual and varnished picture of what is happening and what must change. This report does not just speak in numbers. It captures the day-to-day struggles of Kenyans whose lives are being shaped and in many cases strained by poor governance. Ladies and gentlemen, our public debt has now surpassed, as we heard from Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro, 12 trillion, 12.5 trillion. That figure is not abstract. It affects families, businesses, counties, and the very foundation of our development agenda. But the real issue is not only the size of the debt, it is how we got here. I want to dare suggest we got here through unquestionable and corrupt decisions, through unnecessary and reckless borrowing, through sheer incompetence, inflated or burdened projects, and through weakening of the very institutions meant to safeguard the public purse. We've heard of the state capture of parliament. I'm personally so happy to see this wonderful, I almost like to call you remnant, the remnant of Sit Our 13th Parliament. Ndindi, is so refreshing to hear you. And Karole Omondi, so refreshing to hear you. Even you have dug deep into history, the history of Safaricom itself. And Makali Mulu, you see, if you rise to the occasion as my sister has suggested, you will be able to save this nation and make it different. And you know we are there with you. Ndindi Nyoro, I said in Bondo the day before yesterday, I'm just about to speak it out, so at least it okay. It need to so that a country will know. And you're almost there. Because the chair of the budget committee, because I'm not quite sure he's still there, but you've done a good job as member for Kiharu for sure. But now you have to do the extra thing. Bring it out. Because then that will torpedo you to the next level. We all know where we have come from. And now we are witnessing a dangerous trend. The rushed sale of attempted sale of critical national infrastructure and strategic assets. Here I'm referring to Safaricom, and we have all heard about Safaricom, the JKI, which we were able to stop in court, Kenya Pipeline, among others, done without transparency, without public participation, and without any regard for the Constitution. Let me say this clearly and without hesitation. This is truly unacceptable. It is unconstitutional. And it will not stand. And we will not allow it to stand. So come out. Some of us are as simple as you see us. When we say it, we say it. And let me also be crystal clear. Countries do not prosper by selling their inheritance. They prosper by protecting it. Kenya will not become the Singapore, quote unquote, imagined by the current regime if that entrepreneurship and rotobotomish continues and is left unchecked. You cannot auction off to yourself what belongs to the people. Singapore was built on order, on discipline, on accountability, and a fierce intolerance for corruption, not the chaos, the carelessness, and the impunity we are witnessing today. I hope that those who are talking about Singapore will have read in some detail the wonderful action, the wonderful writing by Lee Kuan Yew, the Prime Minister of Singapore, who was there to shape a nation that moved to become what Singapore is today. Ladies and gentlemen, public finance is a public trust, and every leader at the national and county level has a duty to defend that trust. After all, you've all been there swearing that you uphold the Constitution as by law established, and I want to tell you, a lot of you, particularly those who belong to the state capture team, are already in breach. In fact, it is perjury in law. Perjury. Swearing to stuff you don't believe in. This culture of budgeting with corruption already baked into the process clearly must end. And now we have heard from Ndindi Nyoro, apart from the budget, they want now to do it outside the budget so they can now compound the stealing, the thieving. And it will end. And those who have turned budgeting into a personal enrichment scheme will be held to account. That I can promise you in the next administration. We must also push back against the shrinking of civic space. A confident government listens to its people. It does not intimidate them. It does not order for the young ones to be shot on the legs. If we are serious about rebuilding trust and restoring fiscal stability, several actions cannot wait. Number one, according to me, a transparent, fair, and people-centered debt restructuring process. Secondly, a parliament empowered to provide genuine oversight, because the executive cannot supervise itself. And right now, that is exactly what is happening. William Ruto gets out of the 13th parliament everything he wants without even blinking. Number three, protection of our oversight institutions. The Auditor General and Controller of Budget have said these are two wonderful ladies that have done this country proud. And of course, I want to add their EACC. And this must be ring-fenced and protected from political interference. Number four, deep reforms in procurement and public investment management to end the cycle of inflated contracts, ghost projects, and the sheer waste. And fifthly, a credible, transparent approach to privatization, one that respects public interest, not a hurried disposal of national assets. These steps are not about politics. They're about Kenya's survival. And with regard to the big problem with the Safaricom, you know, there are times that some of us are also now dealing with Safaricom being used as an institution that was oppressing Kenyans. That apart, because if you hear it from the Americans, they say, yeah, we work with Safaricom to work for regional security. We have the problem in the Horn of Africa, yes, but Safaricom were not supposed to be assisted by those external players only to end up hurting its own citizens. That's a different story. Now, the real story is Safaricom belongs to the people of Kenya, and it cannot just be auctioned. The share, and Ndindi Nyoro, I know that I think I used to read that you're one of the majority shares at Kenya Power and Lighting. You started this practice in year one at university, so you have a lot of experience. But if the Safaricom share is sold at face value or undervalued, we all know there's a big cut. What Carolo Mondi even calls free carry, maybe free carry and that kind of thing. Somebody is about to steal big time. We will stop them. And therefore, Wakili Njiru Ndegwa and the team, we have a team assembled of a team of 100 advocates to move to court and to stop this nonsense about selling without public participation this national asset. Dear friends, as we head towards 2027 general election, I reaffirm my commitment to a Kenya where public money is treated with dignity, transparency guides decision-making, corruption is confronted and not defended, and national assets are safeguarded for future generations. Have we not even heard that we're stealing even from the region? Just imagine, we're getting gold from Darfur. That is blood money. We bring it here tonight, a JKI is repackaged, given under rules of origin, it becomes Kenyan gold, exported to the United Arab Emirates, and that is used to fund the war effort in Sudan. Today, the world is carrying at the largest humanitarian crisis, where those Sudanese, some of them, if they are lucky to cross into Chad, right? If they are lucky to, and others starving to death, even getting shot, even in the hospitals. What are we doing as a country? We never used to be this way. We were the custodians of regional peace and security. We are never involved. Over the years that I was the Minister for Foreign Affairs and dealing with bringing peace to the region, the negotiation of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, which gave rise to the world's newest state, the Republic of South Africa. The problems in Somalia, there are times I even said with the late General Audit to make sure that Somalia does not continue becoming a problem. Because as long as Somalia in the region is a sick neighbor, we can never be free as a country. Because we never choose our neighbors. And we had to work hard. But now we are working hard to inflame those situations, to make the region even a lot more unsafe. Even when we remove the D from IGAD, as it then was, Intergovernmental Authority on Drought and Development, dealing only with Nziges, locusts and things, we converted it to Intergovernmental Authority on Development. We did a lot to anchor this country to be what it is. And the other day I said, even when the late Kofi Annan came and promoted UNEP to become now the fourth headquarters of the United Nations, and some of our friends, remember the Director General of UNEP that time, Elizabeth Dosdewell, taking over from Mustafa Tolba, who founded UNEP, and there was a conspiracy to remove UNEP from Nairobi. Some of us stood strongly, and together with a group of 77 from plus China, we were able to salvage UNEP. Today, Nairobi is a UN headquarters. Today, even this week, I think there's a huge conference taking place in Nairobi. And when that happens, we receive a lot of foreign exchange, or don't we? And we continue to grow this economy. Therefore, Nairobi is important, and so as members of the UN, and that is what we try to really make this country become a very strategic nation in this region, working for world peace and security. Kenya deserves leadership that is steady, honest, and accountable. Our children deserve a country that cannot be bought or sold. But I think the current leadership, they're in a hurry to sell everything, auction everything. But we hold them accountable. They can't do that and get away with it. Ladies and gentlemen, we can turn this country around, but only if we face the truth and act on it. The People's Audit gives us a clear starting point, and the responsibility now rests with all of us. Thank you, and may God bless Kenya.
I'm going to invite Sheila to also come and pass the report to Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka before he steps down, just as we are done with the rest of those who were here earlier. I can just move slightly there. Let's appreciate him once more. Thank you. As we bring this, Amina, please.
Thank you very much. As we appreciate Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, who has for many years served Kenyans, has been a substantive servant for Kenyans, Let's also appreciate all the other honorable members who took time to honor us during this very important public moment. Now, as I welcome to the stage, I think my time now should be done, to my co-moderator. Thank you very much for joining us today, truly. And I hope, like we said, you downloaded the report, you have it physically, or you have the hard copy. Please talk about it, share it, make sure as many people hear about it. For those of you who have huge numbers on social media, like others who I have met, please share it with as many people as you can. My name is Amina Abdi Rabam. I will be exiting. However, joining us now and getting on stage is an extremely iconic and legendary artist. There are musicians, my fellow Kenyans, and then there are voices that carry the soul of a nation. Our next guest, an artist, for decades sang not merely to entertain, but to caution, to awaken, and to remind us what Kenya could be if leadership actually served the people. Long before accountability was a trending topic online, when speaking truth to power risked reputation, isolation, and censorship. Yeah. All right. Okay. As he prepares to get on stage, as I was saying, there was a time where you couldn't discuss certain things, not even online, but even when you were just in your home, when you were with your friends, when you were with your family. And he dared to speak up. And the songs were catchy. They were all hits being sung from every corner around this country. So as we get ready to have him on stage, he's preparing. We're going to invite a speaker to come now and give us our vote of thanks. So please help me welcome Kawive Wambua, Executive Director, Inuka, Kenya.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Kawive Wambua, and I want to take this moment to do three things. Number one is to thank all of you, and especially there are some gentlemen and ladies at the back who are outside the room. I would like them to come back in, because after this we're going to get a session for everyone. So I want to thank you all for coming. I want to ride on established protocols, but also say that it is a great privilege that in this, our launch of the People's Audit, we have had the pleasure of getting people who are interested in becoming the leaders of this country present here to listen and to hear what the people of Kenya want. Jipigieni makofi kwa sababu ya kuja. And we are hoping Honorable Kalonzo, Honorable Karua, and members of parliament present here, amjakuja hapa kufurahi ama kujionyesha. Mmekuja hapa kusikiza na mmesikia, and when you go out there to ask for votes to lead this country, this will be the message. Okoa uchumi ya nini? Ya Kenya. Okoa uchumi ya wapi? So Okoa uchumi, Diana, is no longer an initiative. Okoa uchumi is the movement to the future of Kenya. You cannot lead a country when 3/4 of the people of the nation are starving. They are hungry, they have not eaten. They do not know where to go to get medical help. They do not know whether or not their children are going to go to school. No, you cannot be a leader of such a country. And actually, I pity the people who say they are leaders of people who are hungry, people who have not eaten, children who have not gone to school. We should ask for, in my community, we do cleansing ceremonies. You cleanse them because they have a sin. No, there's no other way of saying it. And this cleansing is about finding the correct path, the path for liberation of this country. For the people who have spoken here, from the World Bank, and you know, the gentleman from the World Bank said very courageous things. And he told me he advises the government. It therefore means that the government has no ears. Because he was really brilliant, right? Even when he spoke. And from the IMF, who are doing a diagnostic, and we have said We have said to the IMF, I know we were polite earlier, but we told them, do not go and create an officialist document. Copy and paste what we have here. And then the last thing that I'm going to say, which is the fourth thing, is that this people's audit, this document must be the Bible for economic and political rejuvenation of our nation. And all of us must be ready to take that road and go to make Kenya a better country. So at this point, please, on the behalf of the institutions of, that form Okoa Uchumi Coalition, and on the behalf of the civil society sector, which has basically been struggling with how do we hold everyone to account. I want to thank you all and to say this launch is not an event. This launch is the beginning of a conversation. The conversation that has become today a national conversation on getting the soul of our nation back. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. MC, thank you.
Okay. MC is back. MC is back. I was fat. Oh, wait, actually, yes, you should come. You should. I had already said bye. But thank you very much. Let's appreciate it one more time. And we hope you all feel very appreciated and seen. It gives me great, immense pleasure to welcome an artist who I admire, who I respect, whose music is patriotism without performance, courage without applause, and love for his country without any compromise. Please join me in welcoming the iconic Eric Wainaina.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Tisa. Thanks, everyone who's here. I just would like to reiterate, the country that we want is a country where elected officials and civil servants do not own private businesses, cannot profit from private endeavor. Let's agree on a good salary, pays them well, houses them, educates their children all the way to university, gives them a pension. But the moment they walk into their offices, they know that they're working for the Kenya people. If we can't do that, ladies and gentlemen, and that's how we started, but in '74, I think it was, when the Degwa report, the recommendations happened then, we started moving backwards and we haven't looked forward ever since. But we live in a country where we feel like we want our leaders to drive big cars. We feel that somehow, vicariously, we are living through them if they are wealthy. When they should only be driving, I'm even good to say, a Suzuki Alto. Haki ya Mungu. Na mlango unajifungulia. Is your arm broken? Servant leadership, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean to yes, servant leadership, ladies and gentlemen. There's a sound of a train in the distance, but it won't go beyond this point. There's a rumbling in the bellies of the young men and women. They've got plans, they've got dreams, they've got visions. They are up to their chins in the status quo. And the status quo, I tell you, man, is smelly. So they tear up the railroad in desperation. And that's all that we're told on the television. It's revolution time. It's a solution time. It's a moving time. Wake up, we're losing time. We want to see the fruits in time. We want to heal the wounds in time. Don't you sleep, it's awakening time. It's revolution time. Should we shrug our shoulders in indifference? Should we sit there and suck our teeth? Throw up our hands in surrender and take our position on the fences. We cannot sit down when the ground is shaking. Trembling from below, the earth is breaking. It's time to put on our uniforms and sign up for the revolution. It's revolution time. It's a solution time. It's a moving time. Wake up, we're losing time. We want to see the fruits in time. We want to heal the wounds in time. Don't you sleep, it's awakening time. It's revolution time. Thank you. I'm not done. Thank you so much. Take your seats. Okay, let's go. Some of you might know this next song. Please feel free to sing along. Go for it. Umoja ni fahari yetu, undugu ndio nguvu. Chuki na ukabila hatutaki hata kamwe. Lazima tuungane, tuijenge nchi yetu. Pasiwe hata moja anayetenganisha. Naishi na tumaini, najitolea daima Kenya. Hakika ya bendera ni uthabiti wangu. Nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu. Kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi ni Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo. Kwa uchungu na mateso, kwa vilio na huzuni, tulinyakuliwa uhuru na mashujaa wa Gen Z. Hawastushwi na risasi au kufungwa gerezani. Nia yao ukombozi, kuvunja pingu za ukoloni. Naishi na tumaini, najitolea daima Kenya. Hakika ya bendera ni uthabiti wangu. Nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu. Kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi ni Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo. Wajibu wetu ni kuishi kwa upendo, kutoka ziwa mpaka pwani, kaskazini na kusini. I never know what to do in this part of the song. We can just sway. Okay, let's sing this last chorus together. Naishi natumaini najitolea daima Kenya, hakika ya bendera ni uthabiti wangu, nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo. Kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo. God bless Kenya.
Wapi kelele basi ya Eric Wainaina.
Thank you so much. You can have your seat for just a second. Wow, what a good way to end the morning, the afternoon. Daima mimi ni Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo. And we continue on. At this particular time, it's our joy for us to invite you to a time to network. We have kept you seated for longer than we had intended, but definitely much appreciated. So all the VIP, our guests, will exit with Diana towards my right, and you'll be guided where to go. For the rest of us, please, let's pick a meal voucher to my left through that door. There's a gentleman there with a white shirt. Please make sure you get a meal voucher for your lunch. Please, as you go for lunch, have a conversation with somebody you do not know, you have not met before. Hello? Let's network, let's connect, let's agree how we are going to do from what we have just heard. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest.